Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Strategy Talk, or whatever I'm going to call this. It is March 11th, 2026. And yesterday I talked a little bit about why I love Crustle and kind of my curry week strategy and my wider cooking strategy in general, how I approach kind of cooking in this game. And today I kind of want to go even deeper into what I was talking about yesterday by showing you the 7 teams I have designed to fully fulfill this strategy. But before we do that, let's just kind of go around and see what everyone's up to. So we do get a skill trigger from Crustle, and we do get soft potato, which is actually perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for right now. I was short on potatoes for another avocado gratin that I was hoping to cook for dinner tonight. So hopefully I can get Glaceon back into the field here and get a few more skill triggers, hopefully two, in order to cook another avocado gratin. I do have Meowscarada on the team right now to get me those potatoes, and we did get quite a bit. We got 19. That Meowscarada is a mono potato farmer, which is awesome. And we get an extra tasty skill trigger from Dedenne. No skill trigger from Raikou, but we do get a nice amount of fiery herbs there. That's great. So let's jump into the teams that I've designed here. Oh, and Pawmot gets us a skill trigger. Perfect. Everyone's nice and happy and healthy. Oh, we got one more here. One more sausage. Okay. So before I jump into the teams, actually, let's look at where we're at ingredient-wise. I did make an Inferno corn keema curry for breakfast, and that was extra tasty, so that doubled. And then I was able to get, I think, about 40% extra tasty crit chance for lunch when I did cook it around 1 o'clock, and it did not go extra tasty, so we do have a little bit extra here on our extra tasty rate. So we have a good chance of that going extra tasty for dinner. We're going to need to switch over to Glaceon in order to do that, though. So yeah, let's look at all of these teams that I've designed. I'm going to kind of show you how I have them named and what they're for. So if you didn't watch yesterday's video, go ahead and do that. It kind of explains the strategy that I'm going for. This is kind of a ingredient rotation or a cooking rotation that I'm focusing on that essentially allows me to cook 2 Inferno corn keema curries a day and 1 avocado gratin with a high chance of at least one of these meals going extra tasty, like a very high chance of at least one of them going extra tasty per day. So with that, at my current area bonus on Amber Canyon, I think that's about 140,000 in Inferno corn keema curry, and then another 140 from avocado gratin. We don't know. I don't know the exact averages on that of which one would go extra tasty. So if we take our total dish strength for the day, which is about 280,000, and then we divide that by 3, that would be our average meal strength. So if we then add that to the original 280, factoring in the extra tasty chance of at least 1 going off, I'm pretty confident we could get 1 to 2 even. We're looking at about 373,000 dish strength per day, which is awesome. So that alone for the entire week gets us that amount of strength, which is really good. And I would actually argue that it would be closer to 3 million considering that we're averaging 1 to 2 per day. So yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, let's jump into the teams and how I make all of this possible. So when I design a cooking team to kind of accommodate a strategy for the week, I try to get a baseline team. I actually have 2 baseline teams here. And basically what I mean by baseline team is if I were to start with 0 ingredients in my bag, what team would I put out there to go get everything I need? And in this case, it would be this team for Inferno corn keema curry, and it would be this team in the case of avocado gratin. And I'll show you what all these team members do and why they're there for those specific ingredients. we can skip past Pawmot because Pawmot's there just to heal the team. I talked about this Raikou yesterday. It's essentially my fiery herb farmer because it is incredibly fast. Like it is so fast. If you were to imagine like an average speed Pokemon around 40 minutes, this one is going twice as fast. So just look at these numbers of fiery herbs and just double them, and you're seeing that this is essentially an ingredient gatherer, even though it's not designed that way. I get 2 fiery herb in the B slot and 3 in the C slot, and if you consider just how fast this guy's going, that's essentially 4 and 6, which is not quite comparable to an ingredient specialist, but it's pretty close. It's incredibly fast. It does trigger a decent amount for the day to really provide that extra help for both the team, but for itself to get a lot of fiery herb, which is the first ingredient for Inferno Corn Kimakuri. That's a hard one to say sometimes. Then we have this Charizard. This Charizard is probably the best ingredient gatherer I have in my account right now. This thing is incredible. Not only does it have ingredient finding nature, it also has ingredient finder M. It's also really fast at 35-minute frequency, and it has an extra, 34 inventory from its skills here. So overnight, I have seen it even fill up because it's so fast, and it has unlocked all 3 ingredient slots, and it has a carry limit of 67. This is really good. So this guy has max ribbon, so he's got the +8 carry limit, plus inventory up M, plus inventory up L. Really good. And I can't even imagine how much it's going to be able to produce at level 75 with that helping speed getting upgraded to helping speed M. So this guy is amazing and can essentially cover 2 of the 4 ingredients on its own because it has a split ingredient spread of sausage and ginger. So this Charizard perfect for Inferno Corn Kimakuri. Next is my Comfey, and this is actually my mono corn farmer. A lot of people really prefer to use Dragonite for corn, and I completely understand why. Dragonite has a really good base ingredient rate, and it gets a whole 4 corn in its B slot, which is usually enough for Inferno Corn Kimakuri. If you get enough of those corn rolls per day, you're absolutely going to have enough to be able to cook that dish. And that was what I was doing before I caught this Comfey. As you can see, I actually used my mint on this. It did have ingredient finding down nature. When I was going through all of my Pokemon to kind of look and see what I wanted to use my neutralizing mint on, this wasn't my first choice, but when I looked further into this Comfey's sub-skill set, I was actually really kind of blown away and sold on what it was going to be long-term. And I think this will be my one and only Comfey long-term. It has the inventory to support a high output of corn overnight when I'm not able to check it. It has berry finding S that will also be further supported by inventory up what will be M at level 100. So I love the design of the subskills for this one. The order in which everything unlocks, I think, is perfect for me. The skill trigger M is also really nice. I've had days where it has triggered like 2 to 3 times for me, and it's not a skill specialist. And because Energizing Cheer does have a tendency to target the lowest energy Pokemon on your team when it doesn't trigger the skill on itself, that can be incredibly useful, especially when you put in a Pokemon that you need to gather something and it's already at low energy. This can kind of compensate for that really quickly. So that's what I love about Comfey. And I think it's just going to be great. It's going to be able to do everything I need for pretty much any corn dish down the line. This one's really, really good. So I'm really happy to have this. If you're curious about why I named it what I did, I use an app called Sleep Calculator that allows me to put in the Pokemon's level, remaining XP on its current level, and the target level I'd like it to be at. And it essentially tells me how many candies I need to get that Pokemon to that target level. So in this case, my Comfey needs to get 826 candies to get all the way up to level 60. And the reason why I put that in there is so that when I'm planning for candy boost events like the Dream Shard week that we have coming up next week, that is really useful for that. So I can kind of do the math here. I could, if I wanted to, I could put in all of my candy boost towards this Comfey and get it to level 60 using that week-long event, which it is on my list, but it's not a huge priority right now because I'm already getting more than enough corn for any dish I'd like to cook. So all that really would do is reduce the amount of time that Comfey's on the team. And honestly, I really don't need Comfey on the team that long anyways, so it wouldn't be that much of a difference for me right now. I'm okay with being patient and stockpiling those candies long term. So long story short, that is my Comfey, and it does exactly what I need it to do, and is going to be a great monocorn farmer for me in the future. All right, moving on. We have Tyranitar, which I talked about yesterday. This guy is essentially doing what Comfey's doing, except for ginger. Really not much else to talk about there. It has a lot of really great sub skills lined up in a way that I like to see. So I'm not too mad about this. It would be nice to have helping speed a little bit sooner, but it's already doing more than I need it to. So I have nothing to complain about, and happy to be patient with this one and slowly grow it up to be a level 60 Tyranitar that can get me a lot of ginger all at once. And that's the full team for the first of 7 teams. And this one, like I said, essentially gets me all of the, like I was saying, this team allows me to get all of the ingredients I need for Inferno Corn Keema Curry. I'm just going to call it Inferno from now on because that is too many words. Okay, this is the second base team. And the little naming structure I have here, you could probably guess, it stands for Inferno, Groton, 2-to-1 ratio. And then I have letters for these two because these are the A team and the B team for those 2 dishes that I mentioned. And then moving forward, I have them specific to the flexible slot, which is the second slot in this team structure. And that's all that really changes for the rest of them. But this one is specifically designed for Groton. As you can see, the 4 ingredients that we need are here: potato, milk, oil, and avocado. Those are gathered, of course, by Crustle. Crustle does gather all of these ingredients except for milk. And when it does get to level 60, it will be able to produce a lot more oil consistently for me, which is great. We also have this Meowscarada, which is another mono ingredient Pokemon. This one is all the way up to level 60 and has reached essentially its close to its full potential. At level 100, we are going to get even more ingredients, which is really nice. And level 75 is going to be really helpful as well. We're going to be able to get an even stronger cooking power up, which has been incredibly useful for cooking avocado gratin. I tried to get this Meowscarada out on the field as much as possible because gratin requires more than a single max level skill trigger from a cooking power up Pokemon. That's a lot of words, but basically what that means is that I am going to need either a trigger from this and a trigger from my max level Glaceon, or I'm going to need 2 triggers from Glaceon, which isn't always easy to do. So this Meowscarada helps assist me to be able to cook avocado gratin more often because it's providing those cooking power up skill triggers, giving me the pot size that I need to cook this really, really big dish. So that is Meowscarada. It also has Berry Finding S, so it's providing double the berry strength, which is really nice to have whenever possible. And it's not too much of a detriment because it has such a big inventory. The only time Meowscarada is really going to encounter any problems with Berry Finding S is when I have to put it out on the field overnight, which I don't really have to do too often. And the Dream Shard bonus is really nice, so can't complain about that. Moving on, we have our Blastoise. And this is a mono milk Blastoise, obviously providing the role that we need for milk. For avocado gratin, it does require a lot of milk. 41 milk is a huge amount of any ingredient. I think it is the highest demanded ingredient for any dish in the game. 41, I think, is the highest one right now. So you really need to have a really good Blastoise or other milk provider to be able to get that amount of milk. And what's so nice about the rest of my team design is that my consistent core Pokemon, which is this Pawmot, at level 60 is going to be providing ×6 milk in its C slot. which is going to be really nice. And something I've learned about Pawmot is that it has a pretty decent ingredient rate. I've been able to get a lot of ingredients from not only this Pawmot, but another Pawmot that I have pretty consistently. So that's been great. But this Blastoise has a really big inventory. It has Ingredient Finder M, and it has that mono milk spread. So at level 60, I'm absolutely going to be able to take advantage of a high production of milk so that I can cook Groton hopefully 3 times a day as the game progresses, and that becomes necessary. I'll be closer to be able to doing that. So yeah, and then last but not least, I have my shiny Mawile, which was a huge surprise to me. I did not expect this one to be so good. When I caught this Mawile, I usually have the expectation that whenever you get a shiny, it's just nice to have it for the collection, but you shouldn't really expect for it to be really good. This one ended up being really, really, really good. I am so excited to level this all the way up to level 100 and then potentially mint it so that I don't have that main skill down, because I would actually love to take advantage of its skill. And I do get skill trigger all the way at level 100, which I would plan to upgrade to skill trigger M. Hypercutter is actually a really great skill. It is, ingredient draw, but it also gets an additional, it sometimes gets an additional 5 ingredients, which is nice. So yeah, it also has Ingredient Finder M and Ingredient Finder S. So this Mawile is doing a lot for me. In terms of inventory though, that is kind of the drawback. Until I can get to level 75, which is a long, long way away. Thankfully, the nature is helpful for getting this Mawile leveled up. Once I do get it to level 75, I can upgrade that inventory, which is absolutely needed because Mawile has a very small inventory. And that's the one downside to this Pokemon. I do have to be more mindful of checking the game more often so that I can clear its inventory, because it will fill up pretty fast, especially once I get to level 50 and the ingredient rate gets even higher. So long story short, that is the second baseline team for this Inferno and Groton Curry Week strategy. Both of these teams provide everything I need for both of those dishes. But what we're missing here is cooking power up to increase the pot and make cooking Groton possible on a non-good camp ticket week. Wow, that's a lot of words. Okay, jumping into that specific team, cooking power up. Here it is. It's essentially my core team. You'll see this for the rest. It's just the same team, but the only thing that is changing is this second slot. And this is what I like to call the flex slot when I design teams in this way. So for this specific team, the only Pokemon that's changing here is Glaceon, and Glaceon is here to just provide that cooking power up. This specific Glaceon has Speed Up Nature, Skill Trigger M, a nice sized inventory so that it has the most amount of skill trigger chances as possible before I wake up. I usually will put this Glaceon on the team before I go to sleep if I have a Groton ready to cook, and it will likely provide me at least 1, sometimes 2 skill triggers pretty consistently. Sometimes it doesn't get any, and man, that is frustrating when it happens. But this Glaceon does a really nice job, and it is a long-term Glaceon for me because it does get helping speed at level 75, which is incredibly helpful for a very slow Pokemon like Glaceon. And it does get Ingredient Finder at level 100, which, as you can see for how I've designed this team, that is also very, very helpful because it does get 4 milk in the level 60 slot. That is why I leveled it all the way up to level 60, was to provide that extra help with milk. So yeah, as you can see, I have multiple Pokemon that provide extra milk unintentionally, because it's here to provide cooking power up, not milk, but the fact that it does do that helps tremendously for the one ingredient that Crustle cannot provide. So that's kind of a happy accident and a little bit of planning that went along with this to make this whole strategy possible. Moving on, we've already talked about Crustle. If you don't know why Crustle is so important for this strategy, go watch the video I filmed yesterday, and it'll explain why Crustle is essentially the core Pokemon for this strategy and incredibly powerful. And of course, Dedenne there for extra tasty, providing double power. We know that, the extra dish, and we already talked about Raikou. So I don't really need to go into the core team, which is these 4 Pokemon here, Pawmot, Crustle, Dedenne, and Raikou, those are going to stay the same, like I said. The second slot is that flex slot. So moving forward, that CPU there stands for Cooking Power Up, so that's why I have it named that way. The next one is Sausage. And I talked about this Pokemon yesterday, and that's Bewear. Bewear is a hybrid ingredient gatherer for me. She gathers corn and sausage, which are both needed for Inferno. And it leans more towards sausage because it has 6 in the B slot and only 2 corn in the A slot. So sausage is one of those ingredients that I do have to plan around because essentially I don't have anything consistently gathering that in my core team. So sausage, I'm actually able to gather from multiple sources. We saw that Charizard is a possibility. This specific Pokemon Bewear is also a possibility. Another Pokemon that I haven't shown you yet that is also definitely an option for this slot is Toxicroak. I actually have a level 60 Toxicroak that gets oil in the first 2 slots and then 8 sausage in the C slot. It does not have any ingredient up properties to it, but it does have triple speed and a large inventory. So it essentially acts as a Pokemon with Ingredient Finder M because it's moving so fast, and it already has a decent ingredient rate. Even though it is so slow, it's able to get a lot of oil and a lot of sausage. And as we know, oil is needed for avocado gratin. Now, I already have a strong stockpile of oil, which is why I'm not prioritizing Toxicroak for this specific week. But if I was light on oil, I would swap out this Bewear for that Toxicroak whenever possible, whenever I wouldn't need corn, so that I could gather up more and more oil. Because as we know, avocado gratin requires 32 oil, which is a very large amount for an ingredient. And Toxicroak is able to get a lot of that and enough sausage for Inferno at the same time. So that hybrid strategy, that rotation strategy that I've been talking about is really powerful when you're able to design around the Pokemon that you have that are able to get a lot of resources for you at the same time. Okay, so that's team number 4. Team number 5, of course, is for Comfey to get as much corn as we need when needed. That's pretty much it. That's all this team is here for, is just to swap when we need corn. So there's really nothing special about that specific team. Sorry, I keep having the bad habit of going all the way back to Snorlax. We don't need to do that. And then, long story short, for this team is, of course, Tyranitar is there for Ginger. And this team is really powerful. If I ever do not have enough Fiery Herb, and that rarely happens, but if I am ever in this situation where I do not have enough Fiery Herb, maybe Raikou just hasn't gotten me enough, I can use this Ampharos, which is not only level 60 and mono Fiery Herb, but it also has Helping bonus, Helping Speed M, and Skill Trigger S, and main skill up Nature. This thing is really fast, triggers all the time, gets me extra strength with Charge Strength M, and it's providing Helping bonus. I would love to be able to just run this specific Ampharos all the time for this strategy, but I need all those other ingredients consistently. And sometimes it's better to have Meowscarada, or another way to get a lot of strength, and my very last team that I'm going to show you, this Dragonite. This Dragonite has an incredible spread for this strategy that I plan to use quite a bit once we get it to level 60. It has Fiery Herb, it has corn, and it has oil. It has 3 ingredients that we need for 2 dishes. It also has Berry Finding S. It has a large inventory to support that Berry Finding S. And it has a high skill level, meaning it's going to be able to survive out on the field without Pawmot at all. And we don't really need that, but if that's the case, if we do need to put a Pokemon up there, we can do that. We can put out Dragonite without a healer, and it's going to be able to do everything we need. So I love this Dragonite. It's going to be extremely powerful at level 75 with that Ingredient Finder M. I could not be happier with how this one rolled. I was really excited to see it when it popped up. So yeah, that kind of covers the strategy. And this last team, like I mentioned, is just a flex team. Not a flex as in show off, but just flexible. You can put other Pokemon in here like this Meowscarada, like that like that Ampharos that I was talking about earlier. And that's kind of how I design this week strategy using all of the team slots and really thinking about maximizing ingredient coverage, ingredient rotation, skill Pokemon, and really maximizing Crustle and how it provides essentially a dish all by itself with the support of a few other Pokemon. All right, guys, so that pretty much covers the entire strategy. I know I talked a lot about a lot of different things, but hopefully you were able to glean a little bit more insight about what I was talking about yesterday and how I utilized Crustle and all of these other Pokemon to create a hybrid cooking rotation strategy, essentially. And I have a challenge for you. I would like you to look into your recipe lists here, whatever week you're on, whether it's a salad week, a dessert week, or a curry week. And I want you to look at two things. I want you to look at the strongest dish you think you could cook at least once a day, and then look at a dish you know for sure you could cook at least twice a day. And I want you to see if there's any overlap. Are there Pokemon that you have that you haven't really been paying attention to? Are there skill specialists that could support with those ingredient needs and also provide other helps? I'd like to see what you guys are cooking up on your own in terms of your team design. Feel free to drop your thoughts on both what I talked about and what you see in your Pokemon box down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would leave a like and a comment. Tell me what you think I should talk about next. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.